Hey y'all, it is March the 15th, 2018, and y'all, I'm not going to say anything new, just so y'all know. Nothing I will say here in this video is going to be new in any kind of way. I'm not bringing you any news today. Here's the thing, I want to let y'all know, just to say it, just to hear the words come out of my mouth, just so that they could be placed safely in your ears. I want to talk to you about public school education. It's absolutely a waste of time all the way, completely. Absolutely. There is no question about it. It is absurd. And it's in our face. All right. I understand that many families out there, probably the majority of families out there, they cannot afford to not have two jobs. All right, that's just what it is. And so they have to send their children to public school in such a way it's like they're being forced to. Of course they are. I'm not trying to blame them. Anybody who has a child in public school knows full well that they have to talk to their child every single day, barring no days, and find out what kind of gibbering madness that they've been taught in their public schools. They already know that. All right, like I said, I'm not hating on people who put their children in public schools. I know for a fact that there's many people every single day who talk to their young son or their young daughter and find out what kind of absurdities are being crammed into their brain. Right? And there are parents that do that, and I commend them, all right, because they don't really have a choice. Some of them don't have a choice, all right. But for those who don't, parents out there who do not do this every single day in which your child goes to school, you need to understand that every single day that your child goes to school, it's not only a waste of time, it's actually a detriment to them. And in that, it's going to take equally as much days and time to reprogram them, in a sense, or just bring them back to neutral. Because not only is public school a waste of time, but actually, and you already know, they're going to learn things that are meant to take your brain and smush it up into a pretzel. All right? And I'm not telling you anything new. Like, for example, I have a niece, and my nieces are getting up there. I got some young nieces. I got some nieces that are getting older. I have a niece earlier today, and you already know what it is, mentioned gun violence. I was talking about how retards all over the country were walking out of class, and they plan to do so on 420 like it makes any difference. Talking about disappearing all of guns out of the country. Now, nobody in their school wants to tell them that that is completely impossible. It's not even close to, it's funny. It's such a crazy joke to think that that would ever be possible. You'd have an easier time removing all the human beings out of this country. And I'm not exaggerating. But, you know, the children, they hear about it, and they've never really been in the real world, so they don't know. They're being programmed in such a way to think that they understand the real world, and they don't. They absolutely don't. But I'm going to give you an example. A niece that I have, and she's maybe the oldest niece that I have, all right? She was telling me about gun violence. And the thing is, I know I didn't scold her, you know, I understand, because like I understand, you know, she doesn't have parents. I mean, she has good parents, right? But she doesn't have parents that reprogram her every single day. They just don't have time to. They're off doing their jobs and stuff, and God bless them. They want to live in a big house, and they do live in a big house, all right? I'm not hating on them. What I'm saying is they don't have the time to reprogram her every single day. And that's absolutely what it takes. So She was talking to me about gun violence, and then, like I said, I didn't scold her. I mean, that's not my place to scold her or anything, but I, just briefly told her there is no such thing. That's not even a thing that exists, gun violence. Now, mind you, I know that there's gun violence. Like if you're looking up FBI statistics and this and that, you will find gun violence. But the thing is, on a literal scale, there's no such thing. All right? And I know some people understand completely what I'm saying, and some people never will. And that's all right. But, for example, I mean, if we're just to make an analogy, if it's like if I came up to you and I'm trying to be friendly, if I'm trying to be peaceful, and I hand you a piece of cake, all right, that's not cake peace. That's not cake friendliness. If I give you a hug, that is not hug friendliness. That's not hug peace. All it is peace. All it is friendliness. I just happen to give you a hug or a piece of cake. You don't have to describe it. But yet, and still, gun violence does exactly that. It's not gun violence, it is violence. That's what it is. That's the definition of the word, is violent. Violence. You need to add words to it, like dog violence or gun violence. I mean, it's like, okay, fine, why don't we walk out next week about knife violence? How come we don't walk out the week after that about fist violence or foot violence? Because people, a lot of times, even more so, they tend to kick people to death or beat them to death with their fists. But why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about that? Why don't we talk about domestic violence, have a domestic violence walkout day? How about we have a choking people violence? Because I don't know if you understand, but a lot of people domestically choke their partners. That's actually very often. So we should have a domestic choke violence walkout day, all right? While we're at it, violence is violence. None of this is making sense. It's to the point where it will put your brain in a pretzel. It'll absolutely do that. I mean, it's gotten to the point where Hillary Clinton cannot stand. She can't stand or walk. And people are like, oh, that's all right. Of course she could be the president. Of course of course, they're saying all sort of things, man. Oh, we wish we could have Hillary as president. She can't walk. All right, she's completely lost it. She's over in India talking about that everybody who supports Donald Trump hates the fact that black people have rights. That's literally what she said. What I'm describing to you is just a little taste of people who they've abandoned logic. They've abandoned reasoning. It's not even. And it's actually a very dangerous thing. And the thing is, we all know that. But what I'm saying is, it's getting to the point where they have nothing left but violence. They really don't. Because when you abandon reason, when you abandon logic, when you abandon civilized nature, what else is left? All right? Real briefly, we all see it coming, but I'm here to say it's coming quicker than you can expect. All right? Because it is a civil war. There's already a civil war going. And there's no way around it. I mean, here's the thing. It can only happen one of two ways. There is no third way about it. Either there's a civil war, or eventually we just lock all these people up in a crazy bin because they're not for making sense. They don't have any clue. All right? They want to twist their brains up into pretzels, and it's just not going to work. I mean, social disorder is rampant right now. It's only getting worse. You understand that? Almost half of people, it's like before a couple of years from now, half people are going to be autistic. And I don't think people understand what I'm saying. The social disorder is so rampant that it will force half of people in the world, in our nation, to be autistic. There used to be like one in thousands. One in many thousands. Now it's one in every 2 or 3 people. All right? There's no other way around it besides we're going to lock them up in loony bins. Because, like I said, their brains are in pretzels, and they don't care about logic. Not at all. I mean, It's like nothing they have to say or think needs to make sense. All right? They don't feel safe unless they take away your gun, even though they don't know you. Even though you have never threatened them with a gun. They feel that their children aren't safe unless you shoot up your child with mystery potions. That's the only way that their child can be safe. We're in loop-de-loop land. Right? Their ears can never ever be safe unless you shut the hell up and you never say another word ever again. Or their ears will never be safe. Like, these people just they can't stop and they won't stop. They're going a downward spiral and ain't nobody stopping them. They're going to continue to go until they're just flapping their arms about in a loony bin. And that's where we're going, and we're going there at breakneck speed. It might not remind you that nothing adds up. When it comes to these mass shooters, obviously nothing adds up, and all these tragedies, you're going to see more of them, and they're not going to add up. None of them. There's going to be no evidence for any of them. They've already gotten away with, so many instances. The Florida shooting being one of the most, obvious. They don't need evidence to give you because they know that you don't need evidence. There's people in charge of this who know that you want to twist your brain into a pretzel. I'm not talking to y'all out there. I'm talking to people. You see these people all day. They know that there doesn't need to be reason and logic to it and stuff, and so they know that they got these people right where they want them, and they're controlling them like little robots and stuff like this. And these people can't even walk around like these people are unsafe for themselves to be around. Very soon, like I said, gun violence is like on the tips of everybody's tongue who's in a high school right now. All right. It's going to get to the point. Look, let me just go to the extreme. And you're not going to believe it, but you are going to believe it. Some people out there already believe it. People are going to be more scared of a gun to defend themselves than they are of a raper who is raping them currently. All right? They're to the point where they're going to welcome rapists. So long as they don't have to be anywhere near a gun to defend themselves, that's okay. Just rape me and get it done with, and the rape's just going to be a regular thing. It's just going to be something you check in, you go to the doctor, well, let's get raped. All right, well, you can walk down the street, well, let's get raped. Because they're so afraid of even defending themselves. They don't even know how that goes. All right? And it's nuts. And they want you to be afraid of defending yourself too. They want you to rely on the FBI and the sheriff's office to come help you not get raped. Of course you're going to get raped. All right? But like I said, it's going to get to the extreme, and I'm talking about within a couple years. You don't want to believe it, but it's the Twilight Zone. We're in it. It's going to get to the point where people are going to get raped so much that they're just going to welcome rapes. Right? In fact, rapes are going to happen so much that they won't even exist no more. Consensual sex and rape is going to be so blurred that it doesn't even matter. Who cares? And you think that some people might think that I'm kidding. I'm not kidding at all. At all. They're already ready for it. Right? What's funny is that they'll never do is, okay, all the people who's afraid of guns, fine. You're afraid of guns. Why don't y'all physically take your money and your property and stuff and move to a county that's a gun-free county? Right? Because wouldn't you be the safest people ever if you move to a gun-free county? Let me tell you something. We should immediately start throwing up gun-free counties immediately and having all the gun-free people live there. All right? And all move there. Somehow government subsidize it or something. Just give them all sort of treats. Maybe give them some welfare. Move them into a gun-free county. Everybody. No guns, period. Nobody has guns. All right? See how fast everybody in that company, or not a company, but yeah, their company, and in the county get raped and robbed and murdered all over the place. It's going to happen like clockwork all day. All some sitting ducks. And the thing is, that's the thing about it. They want to incorporate you and your family in it, and they can't help it. They need to. They need to put you in danger. Or else they would just build their own counties that are gun-free counties and watch everybody get robbed. Everybody get robbed. Can you imagine if you were in a gun-free county? You couldn't even have visitors. You'd have to stare at everybody who you don't know and wonder what the hell they're doing there, because if you didn't, everybody would come in, all the criminals would flock. They would flock to your county and rape people up and down and pistol whip people up and down, and it would happen all day long like clockwork. These people, like I said, they don't want to move to a gun-free county. You never heard them suggest that, oh, they're so scared of guns. Well, why don't you move to a gun-free county? See if you don't get raped all day. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about it. It's very confrontational, is what it is. They can't have rights unless you don't have rights. And there is no other way around it. They're not going to feel safe unless you're unsafe. And there is no other way around it. They're very confrontational this way. Right? And I'm talking about in the span of a couple years tops. You're going to have people who are so welcoming of rapes, who do not want to defend themselves in the least, that they're not going to feel good unless you're raped and they see you being raped. I know that sounds like crazy over the top. It is crazy over the top. Right? Let's see, when you send your kids to public school, that's what you're asking for. It is March the 15th, 2018. And I, I feel like I'm Stephen King, dude. I feel like I'm making it up. But meanwhile, we're watching it all play out in front of us. And isn't it interesting? We're both deep up in the tribulation, y'all. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.